So I'm playing Hawkeye again, as is last week. I played Hawkeye with Aggression last week, and I realized last week during that playthrough that basically I was at odds with what Hawkeye was trying to do in my previous deck. There was just too much sort of aggression cards that didn't really support Hawkeye being efficient, and I realized Hawkeye is this game's sort of version of like a low-to-the-ground aggro deck. It's designed to be really cheap. I mean, none of Hawkeye's cards are really expensive in his starting 15. He doesn't have a card that costs more than 2, except for Mockingbird, which costs 3. So when you look at other starting 15s for other heroes, there's a lot of 3s and 4s in their decks, and there's a lot of that stuff. So like last week, I was just playing a ton of resource cards. And really, while it was great to be able to play all of my hand that way, quote unquote, the downside was that a lot of times I was just playing cards that had no actual impact on the game in any way. Like when we looked at the round we lost, like that turn, I just played a bunch of resource generators like helicarriers and physical hands physiques because I was like, oh, well, cool. I got a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to die anyways, right? Like I couldn't proactively do something in the game plan to change that. So obviously this deck relies solely on the quiver and the bow, but it's leaning less heavy on the bow. It gives me flexibility. So the flexibility I have is I can always double attack with the bow because of Hawkeye's ability. Or I can go, I'm going to get one Hawkeye bow attack and get some level of regular just Hawkeye beats for 2+. And because of the bow giving him +1 attack, it's really 3. And then combined with the aggression cards I'm going to play, you'll see how I can really scale that number much larger. So Hawkeye is going to really just try to put a lot of pressure on taking the villain out as quickly as possible. So for my basics, I am playing an Avengers Mansion. I still think this is one of the best cards in the game, just because it's essentially +1 resource of any type or +1 card, depending on your scenario. I am playing a Quinn Carrier because I do have an Avenger as a starter, and the extra resource is going to help pay for things, and I think it's just fine. If you have an Avenger starter, I think if you're not including Quinn Carrier, I think you're probably making a mistake, but maybe I'm wrong and somebody will prove me wrong. Helicarrier, one copy of Helicarrier, because Quinn Carrier and Helicarrier are essentially kind of the same, so if I couldn't play the Quinn Carrier, I'd have probably a second copy of either Avengers Mansion or Helicarrier here. I went down to a single enhanced physique. Last week I had 3. I think this card's really good. I love this card, but I don't want to get a board full of them like I had last week happen. So I'm going to go down to 1 and see how that goes. I am playing 1 Endurance because Hawkeye is so squishy that I need a rapid healing response type of action. And for 1, this is still just one of the best healing cards in the game. I'm going to try to offset this week's deck differently than last week where Hawkeye isn't taking attacks. That was one thing I took out of that. Do have the standard 3 resource, double resources, a strength, energy, and a genius. I'm not sure those cards will ever come out. And then the final card is a Nick Fury. Because Nick is just pure value in just about any deck. So, okay, so now let's talk about the aggression cards. I'm going to start with 2 cards that I'm including that are both what I would call fairly tanky boys. Valkyrie is not a boy, I guess, but I've got Hulk. Since we're playing duo, I think Hulk is just a lot of value.
I've just always liked Hulk. Everybody think
I like him too.
It seems like a lot of people are down on Hulk because of like the random ability, but he's just like a very strong guy for 2.
Yeah,
and if he dies randomly, like I guess you got the short end of the stick. But
certainly, you're right. Now I'm limiting his ability as much as I can because I'm going to always have Hawkeye's bow in play. It's very unlikely I'll flip a Hawkeye's bow. So really, I have 1, 2, 3 wilds I think in the whole deck. So, like, from the perspective of limiting do all of them,
do all of them is better than just mental. Mental is the one you want to avoid, right?
Yeah, and that's really difficult to do. Mental is strong in this deck just because of the resource cards.
Yeah, all the basics.
And then Hawkeye's got a fairly even distribution of mental. So I don't think there's any mental in the aggression. Yeah, I have pretty heavy mental as well. So mental is going to be rough on this version of the deck.
Yeah, so he'll probably die like half the time, but
yeah.
I mean,
But
if all you've done is pay 2 resources for 3 damage, that's like very similar to what a lot of the base like attack cards do anyway.
Right.
So he has the huge upside of like sticking around and smashing.
And I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to aggressively smash with him because I've got Hawkeye to fill that role. So what I've got is a 5 health tank in front of me to defend attacks from the villain. So that's what I'm kind of thinking of with this particular card. I'm also thinking the same thing with Valkyrie, only I've got this powerful come into play effect. So I'm playing Hulk and Valkyrie for that reason.
I think Valkyrie is really good
as health soakers more than anything else. That's what I'm kind of looking at. But I mean, in certain scenarios, I may choose to attack with them, like you said, and Hulk may get discarded in that process. We'll see. So playing along with this, I want to go to. Obviously, I have Hawkeye's bow, which is a weapon. I'm very unlikely to use Hawkeye's bow, but for the synergy. But I am playing a single Yarnborn, because I think it's pretty amazing. And so then, because of that, I'm playing 3 mean swings, which allows me to exhaust the Yarnborn to do the mean swings. In a pinch, if I didn't have a Hawkeye's arrow that would made sense to play, I could also exhaust Hawkeye's arrow for a second, Hawkeye's bow for a second mean swing attack. Mm-hmm. And that would get me, I mean, for one, with the bow in play, turns Hawkeye into a 6 attacker. That's really solid. I'm not dealing with trying to untap Hawkeye. I think that's really trying to push your luck if you're trying to do that. But then I do have a double press the advantage here. The reason I'm running double press the advantage is because I can pair this with some of Hawkeye's arrows at stun as well. And then if this is already stunned, I get a card draw off of it. So it just gives me extra deal 2 damage and draw a card. For 1 resource, seemed really good. This is just purely upside. Skilled strikes are 0 resource plus 2 attack. So if I can pull the combo off, essentially it's Yarnborn, mean swing, skilled strike, and we're attacking for 8 that turn. Seems really, really solid. If I have the villains in play or the Hulk in play, I can go toe-to-toe then. And so I like the toe-to-toes for this purpose because then I
still think that card's just really good all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of reason where this makes a lot of sense. So I like the 2 toe-to-toes in the deck. The card I'm not sure of, and this is going to sound crazy because I've been so high on it, but in this particular deck is Hall of Heroes. I'm not sure whether or not Hawkeye certainly has lots of AoE and the opportunity to trigger Hall of Heroes, but I think this particular build is so focused on just like, can I speed the villain down? And
yeah, I think Hall of Heroes is an aggression card you should play almost every time, and more so than what your deck does. Like, is the scenario you're playing against? Mm-hmm. Where like Ultron, for instance, is one we always use. Like, it's obviously insane. It's absolutely bonkers. Yeah. It's pretty good against like the Legions of Hydra side scheme. Like, if you can trigger it, it's very powerful.
Right.
But if the deck you're playing against isn't a big minion deck, then it's.
And we have no idea about absorbing man.
Right. We haven't.
We've done no spoilers ourselves. So this will be, as we play it here today, we'll get to see what he does, and that would definitely impact future decisions in deck building, I'm sure. But for now, I play a single Hall of Heroes. If this was a situation where there were not a lot of heroes in play, or minions in play, I'd probably move it over to another Battle Fury, because 1, I'd get a mental out of my deck for Hulk, and 2, Battle Fury gives me the option for when I want to take out a minion, I get to untap my hero. And so that combos really well with if I've set up the mean swing skilled strike to get just a huge turn off with Battle Fury. But again, it's all going to be dependent upon the scenario, which way I would go. If I have less minions, I'd play a Battle Fury because it's less impact on the cost curve of the deck. It's
right.
Also
Battle Fury is a strange card to me because the card Tenacity exists.
Yeah,
it's like a basic for 2 that untaps your.
Right, but Tenacity is an event. So because it's an event, you have to hold it in hand. Whereas this, I can put on the battlefield and just wait for it to work. Right.
Right. Battle Fury as a card I think is good, but like you said, it's very similar to Hall of Heroes.
Right. They're occupying similar card slots. And then finally, I'm playing a single Martial Prowess because Martial Prowess is just insane, and it pays for all of these different attacks, like the press the advantage, and then the toe to toe, and then it can also pay for attacks in this deck as well, which all of the arrows are attacks.
Right.
So I think Martial Prowess is just very good with Hawkeye.
I agree.
I probably would like to go to a second copy, but it's going to really depend on after I play this deck a couple of times.
You can only have one in play, so like
second copy means less. But if you're actively, cycling attacks with it,
it makes it like more consistent to draw it.
Right.
Leaving you with a dead card later.
Right. So that's kind of the aggression version. This is obviously a lot lower to the ground. It's aimed at being really fast. And my goal playing today will be to punish Absorbing Man as fast as possible. So hopefully the schemes don't get out of control. I don't know what to expect from him because I have very little way to deal with him scheming.
Yeah, neither of us have a lot of thwart stuff. I have the thwart. I have Jessica thwart card.
I have decent thwart with Nick if need be, but probably if Absorbing Man is really going hard on thwarting, I'd probably end up with the aggression card that allows you to, if you destroy a minion, if you kill a minion, you can remove 2 threat from a scheme. Yeah. But that was just going to be really scenario dependent. So